got to be able to play, and then you've got to be able to not take decision until you have to, and that's a real world decision, and you respect it, but you don't take the decision till then. So coming back to play, the next thing I found a book called Homo Ludens, Latin for playing man, and I don't know why I found it, but I did. And the key idea there was that play has to be separate from ordinary life. And this is because ordinary life is full of everyday responsibilities. They may be trivial, but they've got to be dealt with, you know, just ordinary adult stuff, making arrangements and making sure that you bought the birthday present for the cat and that the kids are, you know, all that stuff. You've got to get away from that. And the only way you can get away from it is by getting away from it. So you have to create what I call sometimes a tortoise enclosure, because there's also a wonderful book called Harebrained Tortoise Mind about the difference between fast thinking and slow thinking. And you've got to create a space where you get away from everyday life. And that means you have to create boundaries of space so that people can't interrupt you. So if you're at the top of the organization, you say to your PA, nobody to interrupt me unless the building's on fire. 4, and then you have to make a specific amount of time, because if you leave it vague, then real life will start infiltrating it and distracting you, because what stops you from being creative is interruptions and distractions. And not just people coming through the door, but things as subtle as worries that you're not good enough to do this. You see what I mean? Or time pressures. The moment that you start thinking, oh, I've got to decide this by such and such a time, you stop thinking about the best decision, and you think about the best decision you can come up with in that limited amount of time. Yeah. So you create boundaries of space and boundaries of time. And in Homo Ludens, the guy actually said it's a bit like a football match. Suddenly the referee blows a whistle, and then a whole lot of new rules take over. You say nothing to do with ordinary life, and no one's allowed onto the pitch, boundaries of space. And then at the end, the referee blows his whistle, and that all finishes, and you go back to ordinary life again. So that's the space. Now, when you create the space, then you're into other problems of a more subtle kind, because anyone who's meditated knows that the moment you stop to meditate, you think, oh, I should have called her, and I haven't bought the cat's birthday present, and I wonder where we're going to take the grandchildren on Thursday. Well, that probably doesn't bother most of your people. But in other words, your mind fills up with trivia. And it's exactly like meditation, like the Buddhists say, the glass of cloudy water. You just sit there, and eventually the cloudiness sinks and you begin to get some clarity, and the little interruptive thoughts disappear or go quieter. And then you can begin to think about the particular problem that you're trying to solve. And you just think about it in a playful way, like kids playing. There are no rules. You can't say to small kids, you're not playing right. You don't have to say to children, hey, do you want us to show you how to play? They know. And the problem is we lose that ability to play, because as we get adults, as we become more adult, we have people that we have to look after. Whereas when you're a child, it's all being taken care of. You know, mums, or to be very traditional, mums getting dinner ready. I don't have to worry about that. It'll be on the table. That's why they can play. The moment that you get into adult responsibilities, then you can't play, because you're being distracted by all the real world problems. Mm-hmm. But as I say, once you get into the meditation and you get the clarity, then you can just play without trying to control it too much, just to see, because that's a chance. And this is at the background of everything I say. That's a chance to look for the promptings that are coming from your unconscious, which don't come in the form of neatly typed out messages. It's more feelings. Oh, that's interesting. That's sort of, oh, I never thought of that, that kind of thing. And then you can begin to just play with those and see if they take you anywhere. And with creation, they may or they may not. But the whole thing is that anything is possible. When you're being creative, there's no such thing as a mistake. Because even if you made a mistake, you might lead you on to something. Or if you're working with someone, he or she will say something that you misunderstand, but you build on that misunderstanding. So nothing is wrong and nothing's right. It's all just, they're all possibilities. And the moment you start worrying, time pressure, I'm not good enough, all this kind of thing, I'll never get this finished on time. The moment that happens, you tighten up. And when you tighten up, your mind goes back to stereotypical thoughts because they're heuristics, they're easy ways of making your mind up. That's what you don't want, the stereotypical stuff, because that's not creative. You want what happens when you're not having stereotypical thoughts.